Hey everyone, First Stage Gaming here, and today we have an interview with a former GameStop employee, their experience, why they left. Also, I must mention that I am related to them, but with that said, let's go ahead and hear what they have to say about their experience with GameStop. What's going on? First Stage Gaming here, along with the Epic Gordo Gamer, and today we're going to be discussing GameStop, specifically the workplace environment, because we have a special guest here who actually worked at GameStop, and he does have a horror story or two to say, and he wants to speak his mind. And we're just gonna let him talk. And what was your experience at GameStop, and what do you have to say overall about it, and why did you decide to leave GameStop?
Hey, thanks for having me on the show first and foremost, and everybody tuning in. I don't want to discourage you if you're working at GameStop or deciding to work at GameStop. This is a personal experience that I've encountered. However, if you look up on YouTube, it seems like it's been happening frequently, more than I wish. But horror stories, when we say horror stories, to me, it's more of a reality of how sometimes these multi-million-dollar corporate companies can treat employees, and it's horrific. As in, it's disgusting, and it's the scary reality that what's out there. But anyways, this is specifically something that happened to me recently. I had left GameStop, and when I originally applied, it was one of the things where it's like, well, I want to do something, a second income, but more importantly, just to kind of expand my expertise in video games. I'm really, I'm heavily inspired by the new games, and I really enjoy talking about video games and very passionate about it. So I applied to GameStop, and I worked there for a few years. And one thing I can tell you is, unfortunately, the lack of management that the facility that I worked really hindered and pushed me away from working there. And I never thought that that could happen because I watched some of those YouTube stories about people going through, difficulties with their upper management, and I thought that maybe I can overcome that.
So,
I can tell you. Yeah, go
so
ahead.
what
Sorry.
what additionally, what initially, made you want to work at GameStop? What was it? Your love of games, or was it you wanted to just be around other people, or what made you want to have a job at GameStop? From understanding, you had a job before, or you currently have a job now, but this was like a side job. But what prompted you to even want to work for GameStop?
Well, to answer your question, it was pretty much everything you mentioned. As crazy as it sounds, income wasn't a reason for it. Of course, it's more money, so that's a plus. But that wasn't the reason. You're not going to go to GameStop and work as a what they call a GA, a game advisor, and become rich. It's not gonna. That's not going to happen. But for me, it was more the passion and get paid and talk about video games. It was like more an excuse for me to be at a game store, because when I go shopping at a game store, I'm that guy that's talking behind the counter to the employee and holding up the line. So I figured, why not work in an environment where I can be myself and talk about what I love? So that's the truth, whether corny as it sounds, why I initially applied at GameStop, where they don't have any other competition. So that was the only place that, I was going to go to as far as video games.
So essentially, you're saying that you went there to apply. You wanted to work there initially because you just wanted to be around games and talk to people about games. At the same time, selling products and just talking to people, sell them, what they want and helping them what they want to find to buy. Is that correct?
That's correct. I initially didn't need the money. Okay, it was more just for me to express my passion.
And what when you went there expecting this type of a scenario, what did you find different that you did not like, and what did you find things that you did like about it?
Well, surprisingly, I landed the job by buying Mario. I remember, I think it was Mario Odyssey. I landed the job by talking to the manager, having a simple conversation. He hired me on the spot and started me the next day. So when I talked to him, I was completely honest. I said I didn't need the job, that it was more of a hobby. And when he hired me, he seen I was very passionate. So I was excited when I worked that, hey, this guy is going to allow me to be myself, talk about video games and pay me some money. So initially I was excited, and I thought I expected a really positive experience from this. Okay, the reality was that manager was never around. He was always traveling to different facilities, and I was stuck with someone who was incompetent and very insecure with their management experience. That anytime I try to talk or speak to a customer and inform them on new games or upcoming titles, I was immediately shot down. Being reminded, literally, specifically in quote for quote, this is above your pay grade. You were hired to be a game advisor, to go clean shelves and go clean my windows, is what this specific assistant manager told me. So out the door, I felt unappreciated, but I figured maybe that person just has a problem. But it kept continuing. Every single team member I worked with, whether it's closing or opening the shift, had a problem with me interacting with customers. Okay, I understand it'd be different if I'm talking to a customer and this other person is waiting for me to check them out. No, no, no. I didn't even have access to a cash register because I was a game advisor, and game advisors strictly clean the store, stock the shelves, and make it look pretty. So I wasn't holding anyone up.
So what was their issue with you if you were doing what they're saying, cleaning the shelves and windows and then advising people about games? What did you do, or what made you, is can you name a specific example that you thought was, "Hey, I'm doing my job. Why am I being harassed, or why am I being criticized?"
Well, I can tell you now that the GameStop I worked for, anytime I would question something that didn't sound right, I'm going to give an example. Okay. I want you to clock out and finish that job that we couldn't finish because I don't have any hours to pay you. Okay. I never worked unpaid. And the fact that I mentioned that, I felt was used against me. So not only were they practicing unfair labor standards, they did not like anyone questioning their authority. As far as game advising, I was told two different things from the same person. Number one, I supposedly pushed a potential customer buying a Nintendo Switch by simply informing them when they asked me, "Hey, which Nintendo Switch models are available?" I mentioned there was a Nintendo Switch Lite that was tied down to handheld mode, and then there was a Nintendo Switch where you're able to switch it to the dock or have it handheld. However, there's one coming out, I mentioned, in the future that was going to have the OLED version. It's a bit more pricey, but I felt that as a GameStop employee, that customer kind of, they earned the right. They come to shop here to know every single information so they don't buy something that's going to be obsolete, or they don't buy something that doesn't work for them. I understand my job is to sell, but I want to be honest about it. And the fact that I mentioned there was a Switch OLED version, the customer said that, "You know what? I think I might wait." So I pushed away a sale. So that was shame on me. I get how business works. The next day, I try to redeem myself because I want to be a good employee, right? I want to make everyone happy. I know it's not realistic. You're never going to. And this lady came in and bought an Xbox. No questions. She knew what she wanted for her son. Son was right next to her. She bought a Series S. And the Series S, it was a 500 megabyte version, right? I simply explained that with Game Pass that he was purchasing, he's going to now get day one access to all Microsoft games and Bethesda games, which is great. However, he's going to run out of room. So in the future, he might be interested in buying a Seagate external hard drive for some of the older Xbox One titles that can still run on an additional regular old hard drive. So when I said that, my manager rolled her eyes and literally told her, "Sorry, he's still new. Those are going to go on sale. You wait until Black Friday." Right in front of me. And I was kind of baffled and insulted, and I felt like she disrespected me, but I didn't say anything. And later on, she says, "Don't you ever chime in and upsell a customer again in your career." So I'm confused what she wanted from me from the beginning.
So GameStop is known for pushing products and services that maybe you don't want. I've been to
Absolutely.
GameStop many times, so I can maybe see if you were pushing, the power up rewards, or would you like to pre-order this and that, like they always do. But you were simply informing a customer, you were advising a customer that,
Which is my
hey,
job title,
you
game
may
advisor.
you may want to consider a hard drive to save all these awesome games on Game Pass, and that somehow in
Triggered her.
triggered this manager, because now you're pushing products when the day before you were actually you tried to not push a product and you got in trouble for that too. So it just
Correct.
seems like maybe this person just didn't like some of your tactics or style. But from what I understand, what you're saying is you went in there, you're telling about games, you're talking about games, and they seem to have a problem with that. What is it that they wanted you to do?
So what she pretty much told me was, I want you to sit back, watch, and observe me. I'm a manager. I earned this title. Always bragged about her. The managers have a special name tag and all these little toys that and accessories that go over their lanyard. And she was always bragging. See this? I guess, like, for instance, a Pokemon emblem was a rank. You see this one? Yeah, I didn't earn that overnight. So she was always trying to remind me that she's my superior and that anything that I do that's not in my job title is above my pay grade. Yet she would always ask me. I'll give you an example. Okay, the store I worked for had a lot of minors, 18, 17-year olds. Okay, and these people were not really informed on restoring an Xbox because, number one, they didn't have an Xbox at home, and they made that clear. They were honest. Number two, they didn't have authorization. You have to be a manager, I don't know why, at GameStop to do a factory restore on a game console. So one day this guy comes in and he asks me if I can, he can take this trade in. She looks at me and says, "You're not supposed to do it, but I need you to restore that. And if you mess up, we're going to talk later." I said, "I can restore an Xbox. I promise you I'm not going to mess up." So she kind of goes back and forth what I'm capable or able to do, and then later on changes her mind about it. But anyways, I restored the Xbox. It was fine. Everything was working. I boxed it and packaged it up. And then she has the nerve to tell me, "Next time you get with me and you let me verify that you did it correctly." I was informed that if I knew how to do it, that it would be okay. And now she's changing her mind. So I am not sure what the deal was with this specific manager. I don't think every GameStop's like that. I would hope it's not. But unfortunately, there's a lot of stories, and they're kind of adding up. Everybody's having a similar experience. At the end of the day, I wanted to work at a place where I can sell people video games, yes, but I also wanted to be at a place where I can advise and give people information on games, systems, video games, upcoming software, on titles like Mario Party, things that games that maybe no one really talks about. It's always Call of Duty and Mario there. I'm going to tell you one last experience that I had. I mean, there's plenty of them, but I was stocking the shelves and there was a Zelda toy. Okay, I put it in the front because I wanted to look neat, right? She literally came over and said, "Zelda doesn't sell. You put Zelda in the back and you put Mario up front." And I'm like, "Okay, well, why not put both of them up front?" "No, this is my store. Mario sells in my store." I really don't know if that's true. Maybe she has a point, but I didn't see what the point was if just putting both of them up front to make the store look neat.
So as far as the fellow employees that you work with, was there any problems with them, or did they seem to also not like it, or just what did you get a sense of the your fellow employees there? What how did they feel about it, about the management?
Unfortunately, I noticed a pattern of the employees that they hired were underaged, inexperienced, and too afraid to speak up to the manager. Not going to mention names, of course. Let's call her
Karen?
random. Yeah, let's call her Karen. Good job. That's the perfect name. She was a Karen. Let's call her Karen. When they would report to Karen, I'm not joking you. They were frantic. "Karen, I think I messed up the register. I'm sorry." And you know what? We're gonna talk later. Go throw out the trash. Literally. Karen always had me throw out the trash because I was the only male working night shift. So one day I want to go out, throw out the trash, and Karen follows me with her arms crossed and says, "I'm making sure you're not stealing anything." I was baffled. I'm like, did I give you the impression? Okay, so it just kind of, she rubbed me the wrong way from the begin with. When I threw away the trash, I came back. She says, we need to make sure that we go as a team to when we're throwing out the trash. We need witnesses for everybody. She blew up on me for throwing out the trash when she asked me to throw out the trash.
Okay,
Okay.
so this does tend to seem like it's more of a manager problem. But is
Yes.
there anything about the policies of GameStop that you disagreed with, or anything that GameStop does that you might feel that this is not very pro-consumer? I can mention many things, such as, you know, pushing pre-orders. I mean, yeah, it's not anti-consumer, but it is kind of like almost harassing. Is there anything about GameStop policies that you felt like, man, I don't like this policy?
Uh, I feel like the policy as far as selling people warranties on their games, specifically for Nintendo Switch, were kind of stealing people's money. And the reason why I say that is when you buy a cartridge, okay, usually if the cartridge breaks, it's your fault, okay? But they state and say things that are ridiculous. Okay, this is what I've heard them as a sales pitch. If you don't buy that warranty, your cartridge will collect dust to the point where it clogs the chip and you can never fix it again. When you open it up, it will never be able to, the pins won't fit right back in because Nintendo, they put it in there with their computer.
So
Nonsense.
essentially, they scare you into a warranty.
Yes.
It's what a lot of companies do. I've worked for retail before, where if you don't push the warranties, in fact, I've worked for a company where if you didn't sell enough warranties, you would be fired. So it's one thing to buy a warranty in a refrigerator, then and another thing to buy it on a disc or to buy it on a to buy it on a Switch cartridge. Now I've had that experience myself. I went to GameStop recently, and one of the employees literally told me this: if you buy the warranty, you can break you can snap the disc right in front of me, and you can ask for another one.
Well, that's, you were at GameStop because that's what they say at GameStop. Uh, in fact, when I worked there, the manager came off as very bossy, and sometimes, honestly, most of the time, the employees felt, or sorry, the customers. You can tell by the look of the face that they felt very uncomfortable after telling her no 3 times. I'm not interested. I just came here. I don't come here often. I'm not interested in the power up rewards. Thank you for informing me. She insists, no, but you don't get it. This is going to save you money. Don't you like money? I mean, she would kind of push it, and it disgusts me when an employee or a customer would tell her no, and she would pretty much say, "Well, you're missing out." And the sales pitch she had that really upset me is she would say, "If you buy this warranty on a brand new game, you can open it up. I'll give you a razor blade. Here you go. Open it up and snap it in front of me, and I will get you another one."
So I
I
wonder if that is a true policy of GameStop, because what stops somebody from snapping a disc and ask for another one, and snap that disc and ask for another one, and continually snapping the disc until there's no more copies of that game? Is that a GameStop true policy, or do they have a line where it's okay, you can't do more than 5 or more than 2 or whatever, or is it literally infinite?
I'll be quite honest with you. As far as I know, and asking my manager, she never could recall a situation where anyone was daring enough to crack a disc. Uh, I asked her after that sales, after that sale transaction, I asked her if he really snapped the disc, are you obligated to replace it? She had said absolutely. Now I wouldn't let him do it. What do you mean? Well, I would tell him don't snap it, but you just told him that. It's like, well, no one's gonna do it, so we just say it. So she pretty much admitted that they're lying, but technically they're gonna have to own it. Okay. Here's another thing I just want people to be aware of. Don't ever buy clothes at GameStop. And I'm not saying that because the clothing is bad quality or the clothing there, I think it sucks and any of that, because it's pretty cool. They sell some pretty cool shirts. And in fact, I bought some on Black Friday a few years ago, and they're pretty awesome. The reason why, and especially because I think this is a COVID thing, I witnessed a customer come in and spend $30 on a really nice looking Pokemon shirt. It looked very expensive. Okay, he came in and said, "Hey, I can I return this for a bigger size?" He's a bigger guy like myself. Said it doesn't fit me, and I'll be honest with you, so and so sold it to me on the weekend and said that I wouldn't have to worry about not being able to return it because I told her straight up, I can't try this on because there's no fitting room. So what's the return policy? As long as you try it on once, obviously there's no stains on it or any signs of active signs of you wearing it, you can return it. He came to the store and he asked the manager to return it for bigger size. She said absolutely not. He thought she was joking around. He said, you know, I'm I really need this a bigger size. She says, I don't care if you need it a smaller size for that matter, what didn't even make sense. And you're not going to come to my store and you're not going to return my product that could have COVID on it. And he was furious, threatened to call corporate, and she gave him the number and said, be my guest, tell them Karen sent you. Seriously. And he stormed out the door, and I felt really bad for the guy.
Now, we did speak earlier before this interview here, and you did mention that you felt perhaps maybe you were in an awkward situation when you merely mentioned something about a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and you
Yes,
somehow got a lot of backlash from this manager.
I did.
You said there was no politics involved. You just mentioned, "Hey, it's a good sandwich," and then she came down your throat. Can you talk more about that?
Definitely. It's a very sensitive subject, but there was no politics involved on my end. Okay, I did not say anything that had to do with politics, whether I disagreed or agreed. I leave my personal opinion at home, especially in a video game store. No one wants to go there and talk politics. You want to talk video games, right? So I was working that day, and I noticed a stack about this thick, no joke, of Chick-fil-A gift cards for brownies, chicken sandwiches, waffle fries, large drinks, you name it. And I simply asked, because she had me clean that specific drawer. And I mentioned, oh, wow, that's somebody loves Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of stacks. She was on the computer doing her thing, took her glasses off, looked at me and said, do you support Chick-fil-A? Uh, what do you mean? So I like chicken sandwiches. We don't support Chick-fil-A here. Um, I'm not going to ask why, but you don't need to ask why. GameStop is a safe environment, and we promote and we allow and we encourage LGBTQ communities to shop at our store, and Chick-fil-A doesn't care for them. So you better not like Chick-fil-A. Is that what you're saying? I said, listen, ma'am, Karen, I have no clue whether Chick-fil-A supports that community or not. I just know the chicken sandwiches are good to my liking. And she got insulted and said, well, if you plan on going there, don't don't do it on my clock, on my time, because I don't support them. I have a cousin, I have a relative who is supports LGBTQ, and you will be insulting me if you do that. I
So
said, no
that does
questions
sound
asked.
a little bit, you know,
Aggressive.
I mean, I understand Chick-fil-A does support certain things and they donate to certain Republican causes that are anti-LGBTQ and all that. However, you weren't mentioning anything like that. You've seen some Chick-fil-A gift cards, or that a lot of times Chick-fil-A, some of the employees or managers will come to different stores and just give them away to promote chicken. And I mean, number one, there's a free food just sitting there that can be given to people who actually need to eat food. So she put her politics above something like that. And then second of all, there's no reason for her to even, would it threaten you to not to not eat Chick-fil-A because it supports something that she doesn't like. Now, that a policy of GameStop that they do not support Chick-fil-A, or is that her policy?
That is not a policy, and I can confirm that because last month I had to renew my game advisory. It's called Game Advisory Hub. where you go into a bunch of sections and you take a test about the policies of GameStop, who they support, who supports them, and all that, shenanigans. Where it doesn't say anything about Chick-fil-A. However, it does say that discrimination will not be tolerated, and anyone who bashes or speaks their opinion freely, insultingly, even promoting GameStop on off the clock. If you're Twitch, or I'm sorry, Twitter, on Facebook, saying, "Hey, come on in today, we have a sale," you could get fired for that. Okay, the biggest thing that GameStop will fire you over for on the spot is if you sell a video game to a minor. Now, I agree with that policy. Okay, that's a good policy, but I think that's more of a law, so they don't really have a choice. But as
Well,
far
I mean
as
that makes sense. I mean it's the
right,
law and such, but the one that strikes me is a Chick-fil-A, and I'm just like anyone else. Chick-fil-A is good. It's good, and it's one of the
you're
best chicken sandwiches out there.
you're
And
you're right,
if
and
someone were to tell me, "Hey, you can't eat Chick-fil-A in this establishment because I'm against it," I would just tell them, "What are you talking about? I'm eating a sandwich just because I support institution for their food doesn't mean I agree with their politics. Doesn't mean I have to, not buy it if I want it. I'm free to eat whatever I want." So
right,
I,
and
I believe that is probably problematic there, although very stupid on her end. Almost that can be even discriminatory if you happen to like Chick-fil-A for whatever reason. Maybe it's your religion. I don't know. But my point is that there should never be a situation when our manager tells you you cannot eat at this establishment or bring this establishment in this place because I don't agree what they support. That is definitely wrong, and that should not be tolerated at any institution. There is no reason why she should ever say or anyone should ever tell you cannot eat this in period or bring it into the store in your lunch break if there's a break room. That is terrible, and that is something that is very problematic, and that just makes me want to eat more Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A is great.
I agree with you. Chick-fil-A's food tastes great. I love Chick-fil-A. I've always liked Chick-fil-A. I mean, for anyone who is offended because of that, I apologize. But I'm not looking at it in a politic perspective. I'm looking at it as a chicken sandwich. So that's where I'm coming from. Also, one
Now,
last thing I want to mention is this individual made it clear from day one that she is a former veteran, which is great. Awesome. I support him. But there was one thing that I didn't really care for, and that's where she one time mentioned to me that if you're not a veteran, then I think that you're like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. No, I'm serious too. Where she mentioned this is the best place to go. You can get a career there. You can get good housing. She was promoting it, technically soliciting in a game store. Okay, and this one time I said yes, ma'am. When she asked me a question, I said yes, ma'am. I know I was raised to speak with being polite and being politically correct at times, right? I'm not perfect. I said yes, ma'am. She said, "What did you call me?" I said yes, ma'am. She said, "You don't call me ma'am." And I thought for a second maybe she identifies as something else. My fault. She said, "No, no, you don't call me ma'am because in the military, that's insulting. Okay? That's a big insult." I said, "I don't know what else to call you. I'm sorry it came out. I
what did
just,
she expect
yes."
you to call her, officer? She's not your officer. She's not.
She just
You
said,
don't have. You don't report to her. I mean, you report to her as far as your management, but I don't think see anything wrong with saying yes, ma'am, unless you don't identify as a ma'am. Then that's something else.
but
But
he was more insulted and said, "Do you know what that means in the military, Gabe?" I said, "No. It means that you are, you know what? I don't even want to get into it." But she just pretty much said that you're insulting me. And I said, "I'm sorry. It's okay. Don't let it happen again." I'm like,
so
"Okay."
to conclude this interview, what was the final straw that led you to resign GameStop? And overall, what do you feel about it? I'll give you the last word here. What was the final straw, and what is your conclusion about working at GameStop? And maybe advice to other gamers out there who want to work there because they want to just be around games.
Here's my answer to that. Okay. Well, the last straw for me personally was this individual never respected my schedule. Okay, they never respected that I have a career that I work at a specific time to a specific time that was clearly mentioned day one, that I will not quit this job, but I am open to these hours. And they were okay with it, the one who hired me. Yet she called me frantically over and over and over to the point where I had to go to the restroom and explain, hey, listen, I'm at my career because that's what it is. It's not a job for me. Where I work is my career, and you're kind of interrupting my process. Right now I'm working. How can I help you? She called me and said, listen, we're going to have to cut some hours on the schedule. Mind you, they gave me 3 hours that week. So for someone who's looking for something to pay a little bit of bills, I'm just going to say straight out that they're going to cut your hours on you to 3 hours a week. So she's not, we're going to cut your hours this week for 3 hours. I said, okay, that's fine. I was told that I was going to get 10 hours this week, but it's okay, whatever. She says, GameStop is we're an at-will company. We can do whatever we want. I said, okay, that's fine. I didn't want to get into it. I have to go anyways. Oh, and one last thing. Next time, well, actually, there's not going to be a next time. You will never interrupt me and chime in a customer and I's conversation to sell a game. That's not going to happen. Okay, that's the last time you're ever going to do that. In fact, I'm thinking about getting you off the register so you can learn how to wait your turn and chime in when you're asked to chime in. Okay, are we clear on that? That was it. I had lost that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I resigned on the spot, on the phone, and she said she needed a written statement because I might come in and still work my schedule, and she needs a written statement so that way I'm never allowed back in there again. So I wrote a text message to my manager. It was a long message. It wasn't the prettiest message. I was really upset, okay? It was nothing insulting to that person or any cursing, but I was pretty pissed, okay? In conclusion, for someone looking for a job or is thinking that they're going to work for a game store, okay, I'm going to give you some advice. Whether you take it or not, it's up to you. If you're in that position where you live with family and you don't necessarily need the money to pay a bill, I highly advise that you pursue into being an entrepreneur and starting your own game business to run it the way it should be ran. Okay? GameStop is not going to pay your bills. GameStop doesn't care about you, in at least my scenario. And GameStop doesn't respect you. And last but not least, GameStop is not what it used to be. When I remember GameStop, I remember EB Games, an electronics boutique where you can walk in a store, you can buy a video game, and you can go home, and that was it. There was no warranties. I'm sure there was a little bit starting. There was no Game Pro or any of those add-ons. It was you buy games, you come here, you talk to a couple of guys about video games, that was it. And you even buy some toys. Sometimes I remember a Pikachu toy and pretty cool exclusive content. That's all I got as far as GameStop.
Well, hopefully this situation was very specific to this GameStop. It's not something that happens everywhere, although I can imagine, managers getting a power trip and all kinds of shenanigans happen. I've worked in retail before. Managers get away with a lot of things, and a lot of employees underneath them, especially younger ones, view them, admire some of their power that they have, over them in terms of, they're able to fix the schedule they want, which is, it's a terrible thing, but it does exist. And hopefully that's not all the GameStops, but I do think GameStop is, it's on its last days here. I mean, the way things are going with digital distribution or digital gaming, I mean, they're on their last legs, and it seems like they're trying desperately to get as many customers as they can, promoting different items that they like, toys and clothes and anime and stuff like that, which is great. Those things are awesome, but games is their bread and butter, and it's just the world is going digital, and we'll see what happens at GameStop. GameStop was a long time ago You know, it was a great store. I recall going to electronic boutiques. There was Babbage's, EB Games. You know, that's all they all bought each other out. And I actually, you know, it's actually a sad thing because there is no experience like walking into a GameStop or even a Toys R Us back in the day and getting a copy of your, game Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, and just, buying it, going home. And now it seems like you're going in there and it's more of a pushing more things, and you just want to go in there, get your game, maybe talk to a friendly, face there, and then get out. But with the way things are going digital, GameStop either needs to really reduce their prices or policies, on their used games especially. They should give you more money for those used games. But we'll see what happens at GameStop. Once again, this is First Stage Gaming here, and thank you for joining me and telling your experience. And hopefully this will be something for someone to learn, and not to treat employees this way. And we'll see what happens. But thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one.